The knife slipped from Mason's trembling fingers, clattering against the porcelain like a gunshot in the hushed dining room. Blood, his own, from a shallow cut on his palm, smeared the edge of the note he'd just uncovered, the words blurring into a confession he never meant to read aloud. I loved you enough to destroy us both. And there, in the steam rising from his untouched steak, he saw Carter's face for the last time. Not in flesh, but in the ghost of a smile that promised everything and delivered ruin. Rain hammered the floor-to-ceiling windows of the Prime Cut, Manhattan's most exclusive steakhouse, where deals were sealed over dry-aged ribeyes and secrets simmered like au jus. Mason Hale, CEO of Hale Tech Innovations, sat at the corner booth, the one reserved for power players who could afford the $500 cover just to breathe the air. 38. He was the golden boy of Silicon Alley, broad-shouldered, with a jawline that could cut glass and eyes like storm clouds over the Hudson. His navy Brioni suit hugged him like a second skin, tailored to hide the tattoos snaking up his arms, reminders of a wilder youth he'd buried under boardroom battles and buyouts. Tonight was supposed to be triumphant. Hale Tech had just closed a $2 billion merger with a West Coast startup, catapulting Mason's net worth into the stratosphere. The board had insisted on this victory dinner, a ritual to toast the win with single malt scotch and sirloins flown in from Kansas. But Mason's mind wasn't on spreadsheets or stock tickers. It was on the man who'd texted him an hour ago. Meet me after our spot. Don't make me wait. Carter. God, Carter. Their affair, if you could call something so electric an affair, had started 6 months ago in the dim underbelly of a Brooklyn warehouse party. Mason had slipped away from a tech conference mixer, craving anonymity in the thump of bass and the haze of bodies grinding under strobe lights. He'd been nursing a whiskey sour, scanning the crowd for a distraction from the loneliness gnawing at his edges, when Carter collided with him, all lean muscle and easy grace, with tousled auburn hair that fell into hazel eyes like autumn leaves in a gutter. Watch it. Suit. Carter had laughed, steadying Mason with hands that smelled of turpentine and rain. An artist, he'd said later, over stolen shots at the bar. 29. Unapologetically queer, with a loft in Bushwick cluttered with half-finished canvases of fractured cityscapes. One conversation turned into 3, then a kiss in the alley that tasted like rebellion. Mason, who'd spent years building walls higher than the Empire State, closeted to the world, out only in anonymous grinder hookups, found himself unraveling in Carter's orbit. They met in shadows, late-night drives upstate to hike the Catskills at dawn, where Mason could shed his armor and let Carter trace the scars on his back from a childhood of toughen up, bruises courtesy of a father who preached football over feelings. Or tangled sheets in Carter's loft, where the air hummed with the scent of oil, paint, and sweat, and Mason whispered truths he'd never voiced. I hate the man I'm supposed to be. I want this. But New York wasn't kind to secrets. Mason's life was a tightrope. Mornings in glass towers shaking hands with venture capitalists who eyed him like fresh meat, evenings dodging his mother's calls about settling down with a nice girl from the club. The board knew he was gay. Rumors swirled after a leaked photo from Fire Island years back, but they tolerated it as long as it stayed invisible. Image is everything. Mason, his SO, Victoria Lang, had warned over coffee that week. Marry the merger, not your whims. She'd slid him a dossier on Elena Voss, a sharp-witted biotech heiress whose family ties could lock in another funding round. It was all business, she'd said. All optics. Mason pushed the thought away as the waiter, a kid with a nose ring and too wide smile, approached. Mr. Hale, your steak, sir. Rare. as ordered. And a side of those truffle fries you love. The kid winked, like they shared some insider joke. Mason forced a grin, the kind that closed deals. Perfect. Keep the scotch coming. He sliced into the meat, juice pooling like spilled secrets on the plate. The first bite was heaven, charred crust giving way to velvet pink, but it stuck in his throat as his phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Look under the plate. Truth tastes better cold. Heart slamming, Mason glanced around. The dining room buzzed with laughter from a table of hedge fund bros, the clink of crystal from a celebrity couple in the VIP nook. No sign of Carter. They'd planned to meet later, at the rooftop bar across the street, away from prying eyes. With a fork, he nudged the plate aside. There it was, a folded square of thick cream stock, edges curling from the heat. His pulse thundered as he unfolded it, the paper warm against his skin. The handwriting was Carter's, loose, looping letters like brushstrokes. I saw the ring on her finger today. The one you picked out. Dinner with Elena. How long until you forget the taste of me? I loved you enough to destroy us both. Forgive me. See, the world tilted. Mason's vision tunneled, the steakhouse blurring into a watercolor smear. Elena, they'd met for lunch, strictly professional, a courtesy call about Synergy's post-merger. No ring. No promises. But Carter. How? Mason's mind raced back to that afternoon. Elena's laugh over salads at Le Bernardin, her hand brushing his as she admired his cufflinks. You're not what I expected, Mason. Raw. Real. Had someone snapped a photo? Leaked it to the tabloids? Or worse, had Carter been watching? Betrayal hit like a sucker punch. Not from Elena's flirtation, but from Carter's doubt. The note wasn't just a goodbye. It was a grenade, lobbed into the fragile piece Mason had carved out. He crumpled the paper, shoving it into his pocket as Victoria slid into the booth across from him, her red lipstick a slash of warning. Mason, darling. You look like you've seen a ghost. Rough day conquering the world. He swallowed hard, forcing the CEO mask back on. Just the usual. What's the play for tomorrow's pitch? She leaned in, voice low. We seal Elena. Dinner date. Public. Make it look organic. The street loves a power couple. Her eyes flicked to his hand, the faint bloodstain from the knife. Everything all right? Fine, he lied, signaling for the check. But as he stood, the room spun again, and he caught a glimpse through the rain-streaked window, a figure in a black wool coat, auburn hair plastered wet, vanishing into the crowd on 57th Street. Carter. Mason bolted from the restaurant, the cold November air slapping his face like judgment. Cabs honked. Umbrellas bloomed like black flowers, but he didn't care. He sprinted after the shadow, loafers splashing through puddles that mirrored the neon chaos of Times Square bleeding into the side streets. Carter, the name tore from his throat, raw and desperate, swallowed by the city's roar. He caught him at the corner of 6th Avenue, yanking his arm just as Carter stepped off the curb. What the hell was that? Carter whirled, hazel eyes flashing with a storm of hurt and fury. Rain dripped from his lashes, soaking the collar of his threadbare jacket, the one Mason had bought him on a whim during a weekend in the Hamptons. Let go, Mason. You made your choice. I didn't. Mason's voice cracked, the CEO facade shattering. That note? Under my goddamn plate? How did you even? A smirk twisted Carter's lips, bitter as burnt coffee. I have friends in low places. The waiter, he's one of mine. Thought you'd appreciate the drama. Poetic, right? Your precious steak. Hiding the truth like you hide us. The word hung between them, fragile as the steam from a street vendor's cart nearby. Mason's chest ached, a hollow throb that echoed the empty loft he'd wake up to tomorrow. It's not what you think. Elena's a prop. Bored bullshit. I told you. You told me a lot of things. Carter stepped closer, voice dropping to a whisper that cut deeper than any boardroom knife. Whispers in the dark. Promises on your knees. But daylight comes, and you're back in that suit, shaking hands with suits who see you as a brand, not a man. I can't be your midnight secret anymore, Mason. I deserve sunlight. Mason's hand tightened on Carter's arm, not in anger, but plea. Then come with me. To the pitch. Stand beside me. I'll tell them everything. Victoria. The board. Hell. The whole damn world. Laughter bubbled from Carter, sharp and broken. You? Out? The golden boy who built an empire on denial. He pulled free, rain mingling with tears Mason hadn't noticed. I saw the photos. Mason. Lunch with her. Smiling like it meant something. And the Ring shop tab on your browser history, don't deny it. I hacked your laptop. Needed to know if I was crazy. The admission landed like a slap. Mason's laptop, left open in the hotel suite after a late-night strategy session. Carter had a key, a habit from their early days when trust was a given. Now it was a weapon. You spied on me? Love makes thieves of us all. Carter's gaze softened, just for a beat, tracing Mason's face like he was committing it to canvas. I painted you last night. Naked, on the cliffs in Montauk. Free. But that's not you, is it? You're chained to that throne. Mason reached for him again, but Carter backed into the traffic's flow, taillights blurring his outline. Don't follow me. He'll. Mason. Find someone who doesn't have to hide. Then he was gone, swallowed by the subway entrance, leaving Mason alone in the downpour. Water streamed down his face, tasting of salt and regret. Back in his penthouse that night, the city lights mocking him through floor-to-ceiling glass, Mason poured a scotch and unfolded the note again. Forgive me. But who was the sinner here? The lover who'd lashed out in pain, or the man who'd let fear dictate his heart? Days blurred into a haze of meetings and mergers. Hailteka's stock soared, but Mason felt like a husk, dictating emails with a voice that echoed hollow in his throat. Victoria noticed, of course sharp as a stiletto. Pull it together, Hail. Elena's dinner is Friday. Black tie. Make it count. He nodded, but his mind wandered to Bushwick, the creak of Carter's floorboards, the way he'd hum show tunes while mixing pigments, off-key and endearing. On impulse, Mason drove there Thursday night, the Range Rover's wipers battling a fresh squall. The loft door was ajar, light spilling like an invitation or a trap. Carter stood at his easel, brush in hand, the canvas a riot of blues and grays, a storm over the skyline, a lone figure on a ledge. Mason. You shouldn't be here. I had to. Mason closed the door, the click loud in the charged silence. That note gutted me. But you're wrong about Elena. The ring? Research. For my sister. She's getting hitched next spring. Carter's brush paused, paint dripping like blood. And the photos? Twisted. She grabbed my hand, excitement over the deal. Nothing more. Mason stepped closer, the air thick with turpentine and tension. I was going to tell you tonight. Before you staged your little theater. A ghost of a smile. Touché. But it changes nothing. You're still the king in the castle, and I'm the fool in the garret. Then let me abdicate. Mason's voice broke, raw as the cut on his palm still bandaged from the steakhouse. He closed the gap, cupping Carter's face, thumbs brushing away a smudge of cobalt. Their kiss was fire, desperate, devouring, tasting of apologies unspoken. Clothes shed in a frenzy, bodies colliding on the paint-splattered rug, where every thrust was a reclamation, every gasp a vow. After, tangled in sheets that smelled of them, Mason traced the constellation of freckles across Carter's chest. Marry me. Not for show. For us. Carter's laugh was soft, sad. You don't mean that. Not yet. I do. But even as he said it, doubt crept in, the board's whispers, the shareholders' scrutiny. Dawn broke, and with it, reality. Friday's gala was a glittering farce. Crystal chandeliers at the plaza, Elena on his arm in emerald silk, her laughter a shield against the vultures circling. Flashes popped like gunfire, headlines already brewing. Hailtech's Hail Hook's biotech beauty. Mason played the part, charming, untouchable. But midway through the keynote, his phone vibrated in his pocket. Not a text, but a video link from Carter. He slipped into a powder room, locking the door. The footage was shaky, raw, Carter in the loft, facing the camera with eyes red-rimmed. If you're watching this, I couldn't stay. I love you, Mason, fiercely, foolishly. But I can't watch you cage yourself. The note was my goodbye. Burn it. Burn us. Live free. Then, a canvas revealed their portrait. Mason mid-laugh on that Montauk cliff. Wings of light bursting from his back. An angel unchained. Tears blurred the screen as Mason sank to the marble floor. Betrayal reversed, Carter's act of love, disguised as sabotage. The note hadn't destroyed them. It had cracked the facade wide open. He burst from the bathroom, abandoning Elena mid-sentence, ignoring Victoria's hiss of, "What the?" The plaza's grand staircase became his runway, suit jacket flung over one shoulder as he descended into the night. Cabs swerved, doormen gawked. Mason didn't stop until he reached the Brooklyn Bridge, the East River churning below like his soul. Carter was there, at the midpoint, silhouetted against the Gotham glow, easel set up against the wind. Knew you'd come. Mason pulled him into a crushing embrace, the note retrieved from his wallet, thrust between them like a talisman. You didn't destroy us. You freed me. Their kiss bridged the gap, wind whipping around them like applause. Below, the city pulsed on, indifferent. Above, stars winked through the haze. In the weeks that followed, the fallout was biblical. Headlines screamed, "Hail comes out," literally. Stock dipped, then rebounded on the wave of authenticity. Victoria resigned in a huff, but Elena, she toasted them at the coming-out brunch, winking over mimosas. Knew you were too pretty for me. Mason and Carter moved to a brownstone in the village, walls lined with canvases that captured their chaos. Storms yielding to sunrises, lovers entwined against horizons. No more hiding. No more notes under plates. One evening, over takeout tie on the fire escape, Carter unfolded a fresh sketch. Two men at a bridge's edge, hands linked, wings unfurled. Our story, he said. Mason kissed his temple, the world vast and kind. The best kind. Human. The brownstone's fire escape creaked under their weight. The city a symphony of distant sirens and laughter spilling from corner bars. Mason leaned back against the wrought iron railing, carton of pad thai balanced on his knee, chopsticks dangling forgotten as he watched Carter sketch by the glow of a single lantern. The artist's focus was mesmerizing, hazel eyes narrowing, tongue caught between his teeth, hand flying over the page with the precision of a surgeon wielding a scalpel. It was the same intensity he'd brought to their first night, undressing Mason not just with fingers but with gazes that peeled back layers of pretense. "You keep staring like that, and I'll never finish," Carter murmured, not looking up. A smile tugged at his lips, smudged with ink from an earlier spill. Mason chuckled, low and warm, the sound rumbling through his chest like thunder over the plains. "Good. I like you unfinished." He reached over, tracing the vein pulsing at Carter's wrist, a road map of late nights and fevered touches. 6 weeks since the bridge, and the hunger hadn't dimmed. It had deepened, roots twisting into something unbreakable. Carter set the sketchpad aside, twisting to face him. The lantern light carved shadows across his face, highlighting the faint scar above his eyebrow from a bar fight in college, a relic of a life Mason was only beginning to map. "Penny for your thoughts, Mr. CO? Or is it still just Mason up here?" "Always Mason." He pulled Carter closer, their knees knocking, the city breeze carrying hints of jasmine from the window boxes below. "Thinking about how I almost lost this. You. The note. It was the shove I needed." Carter's expression flickered, pride laced with the ghost of pain. "I was terrified. Hacking your laptop? Leaving that stunt at the steakhouse? It was all bluff and bluster. If you'd called my hand." He trailed off, eyes dropping to the sketch, their silhouettes on the bridge, ethereal and eternal. "But I didn't." Mason cupped his chin, tilting it up. "And now, we're writing the sequel." Their lips met softly at first, a brush of reassurance, then deepened as the night thickened around them. Carter tasted of green curry and possibility, his hands fisting in Mason's Henley, tugging him down onto the faded quilt they dragged out. The fire escape groaned in protest, but held, a metal heartbeat under their shifting weight. Mason's fingers delved into Carter's hair, that wild auburn tangle, while Carter's nails raked down his back, reigniting scars long faded. When they broke apart, breathless, Carter propped on an elbow, tracing idle patterns on Mason's collarbone. "Speaking of sequels, Victoria called today. Offered me a commission. Hailteca's new headquarters, murals for the lobby. Something about humanizing the brand." Mason groaned, half laugh, half dread. "She's relentless. Told her you're booked solid with starving artists' collectives." "Liar." Carter nipped his jaw. "I'm considering it. But only if you pose. Nude. In the boardroom. Deal." The banter eased the knot in Mason's gut, the one that twisted every time his phone pinged with analyst reports or shareholder emails. The coming out had been a media circus, Forbes cover on Queer Quants, Out Magazine's Man of the Year, even a 60-minute segment where Mason, voice steady as steel, declared, "Love isn't a liability. It's the algorithm we all chase." Stocks had stabilized, partnerships bloomed, but the whispers lingered in elevators and after-hours texts. Is he stable? Distracted? Carter sensed it. Always did. "You're brooding again." "Talk." Mason sighed, staring at the stars or what passed for them in a light-polluted sky. It's nothing. Just the board's pushing for a family leave policy overhaul. Progressive optics, they call it. But it's performative. Like they think one gay CEO erases decades of pink slips for people like us. People like us. Carter rolled the words, savoring. Sounds like a club I want to join. Officially, Mason's heart stuttered. They danced around it, the proposal on the bridge, half joking, half sacred. But rings? Vows? In a world that still doled out rights like party favors? What are you saying? Carter sat up, cross-legged, the lantern casting him in gold. I'm saying let's make it real. Elope. Vegas. Or that chapel in the Berkshires you love. No press. No pomp. Just you, me, and a officiant who doesn't care about NDAs. The word elope hung like a dare. Mason's mind flashed to his father's funeral 5 years back. The old man's will, stipulating traditional unions for inheritance clauses Mason had shredded in rage. To his mother, still sipping Chardonnay in Connecticut, whispering about discretion. But here, on this rickety perch, with Carter's hand warm in his. Yes. God. Yes. They sealed it with laughter and another tangle of limbs, the city fading to a hum as they lost themselves. Later, spent and sated, they lay side by side, sketching dreams into the dark. A studio for Carter in the brownstone's garden level. A foundation for queer artists funded by Hailtech scraps. Humanistic, Mason murmured, echoing the ethos that had drawn him to Carter's canvases. Raw strokes that elevated the broken to beautiful. But dawn brought the real world clawing back. Mason's alarm blared at 5:30, a relentless march to the gym, then the office. Carter stirred, mumbling protests as Mason kissed his forehead. Go back to sleep, love. I've got a dragon to slay. The dragon was a 9 a.m. All hands. Unveiling the family leave expansion. Mason strode into the Hailtech atrium like a general, navy suit impeccable, Carter's sketch tucked in his breast pocket like armor. The room buzzed, engineers in hoodies, execs in pearls, eyes on him, expectant. He launched into the pitch, stats on retention spikes from inclusive policies, testimonials from employees who'd balanced babies and burnout. We're not just building tech, he concluded, voice ringing off glass walls. We're building lives. And in those lives, love, whatever form it takes, is the core code. Applause thundered, but as it died, a hand shot up from the back. Trent Harlow, a venture partner with a mustache like a 70s porn star and eyes like flint. Inspiring, Mason. Truly. But let's talk brass tacks. Your personal headlines. Any impact on the Q4 projections? The room tensed. A collective inhale. Mason's jaw tightened, but he met Trent's gaze head-on. If you're asking if authenticity tanks revenue, history says no. Apple didn't crumble when jobs came back messy. We thrive on truth. Trent's smile was oil slick. Touché. Just protecting the nest egg. The meeting dissolved into clusters, but Mason felt the chill. By lunch, his assistant flagged an email chain, leaked memos questioning his stability, whispers of a proxy fight. Victoria's fingerprints. No doubt, her resignation letter had been laced with concerns for the firm's direction. He texted Carter, "Dragons have teeth. Dinner in? Need your fire." Carter's reply pinged instant. Always. Bring the scotch. We'll roast marshmallows over the flames. That night, over amber pours in the brownstone's kitchen, Mason spilled it all, the subtext, the sabotage. Carter listened, chin on fist, then stood, fetching a canvas from the corner. A half-done portrait of Trent, mustache exaggerated into a villain's curl, flames licking his wingtips. Art therapy, he quipped, handing Mason a brush. Your turn. Make him bleed red. They painted till midnight, strokes wild and cathartic, laughter echoing off exposed brick. In the frenzy, Carter's hand slipped, paint splattering Mason's shirt, a Jackson Pollock of crimson and gold. Oops, he grinned, but his eyes held heat. Mason didn't care about the dry cleaning. He chased the mess, pinning Carter against the counter, their mouths crashing in a bid for oblivion. Hands smeared color across skin, shirts discarded in heaps, the kitchen island becoming their battlefield. Carter gasped as Mason lifted him, legs wrapping tight, the world narrowing to the slide of bodies, the symphony of moans mingling with the sizzle of forgotten takeout reheating on the stove. After, collapsed on the cool tile, paint flaking like autumn leaves, Carter traced a heart on Mason's chest. Whatever comes, we face it streaked and unapologetic. Mason nodded, throat tight. Promise me you'll never leave another note. Talk to me. Always. Promise. But as sleep claimed them, Mason wondered if promises were just pretty lies on paper. The proxy fight ignited Monday. Trent rallied dissenters, old guard investors chafing at Mason's woke pivot, filing motions for a vote on leadership. News hit like a flash flood. Hail tech heir in hot seat. Is love the enemy of profit? Pundits dissected his bridge kiss photo. Op-eds debating if queerness equated to distraction. Mason barricaded in his office, fielding calls from allies, shredding drafts of surrender speeches. By noon, Elena burst in, unannounced, fierce in a power blazer. You're an idiot if you let them win. He rubbed his temples. Easy for you to say. Your empire's built on beakers, not billions. She perched on his desk, legs crossed. Bullshit. I clawed through boardrooms telling me my ovaries disqualified me. You think this is new? She slid a tablet over. Dossiers on Trent's skeletons, embezzlement whispers from his last firm, a mistress payout hushed with NDAs. Fight dirty. Or let me. Gratitude swelled, but so did guilt. Why help? After everything, Elena shrugged, smirking. Because you're the real deal. And frankly, Carter's hotter than Trent's comb-over. Deserves better than a mope. Her words lingered as Mason drove home, detouring to a jeweler on Fifth. The ring was simple. Platinum band etched with coordinates of their Montauk cliff, a diamond cut raw like hope. He pocketed it, pulse racing. Carter was waiting, easel out, but his strokes were frantic, blacks and reds bleeding into a maelstrom. Saw the headlines. Want me to key his Maserati? Mason laughed, pulling him close. Better. Marry me. Now. Carter stilled, eyes searching. You're serious. Deadly. He dropped to one knee, right there amid paint cans, ring glinting. Carter Ellis, be my chaos. My calm. My forever. Tears welled, but Carter's grin split wide. Yes. Hell yes. They made love on the drop cloth, slow and sacred. Rings exchanged in whispers. Dawn found them entwined, the world outside a canvas blank and waiting. But Trent's shadow loomed. The vote was set for week's end, a Coliseum showdown in the boardroom. Mason prepped war, Elena's dirt, employee petitions, a keynote on resilience that quoted Carter's sketches as metaphors for code-breaking. Friday, the room crackled, suits like armor, air thick with cologne and contempt. Trent opened, voice oily. Mason's vision is noble, but risky. We've lost 3% this quarter. Coincidence? Murmurs rippled. Mason rose, steady. Not coincidence. Correlation to your short-sighted selves. But let's talk risk. Yours, Trent. That consulting fee to your ex-partner's widow? Or the offshore account masking it? Gasps. Trent blanched, sputtering. Elena, in the gallery, mouth boom. The vote swung, 12-8. Mason retained. Cheers erupted. Hugs exchanged. But as confetti fell, metaphorical, hail textile, Mason slipped out, texting Carter, "We won. Pick you up at 8. Our spot." The prime cut glowed like absolution. Mason entered, heart light, ordering the steak rare, with truffle fries. The waiter, same kid from before, grinned. "Special night. You have no idea." Plate arrived steaming. Mason lifted it, half expecting ghosts. Nothing but juice stains. He laughed, relief flooding. Then his phone buzzed. A photo from Carter, at their bridge, holding a sign, "Husband material. Hurry home." Mason paid, stepping into the night. No notes. No secrets. Just a life, streaked and true. The wedding was a fever dream of impulse and infinity, sealed in a clapboard chapel off Route 7 in the Berkshires, where maple trees clawed at a sky bruised purple by twilight. No guests, no paparazzi drones, just an officiant named Reverend Lou, a grizzled ex-trucker with a rainbow pin on his lapel and a voice like gravel over gospel. Mason stood at the altar in jeans and a white Oxford, sleeves rolled to show the tattoos Carter loved tracing, the ring on his finger a vow etched in starlight. Carter arrived on a rented Harley, hair windswept, in black leather and boots scuffed from Brooklyn streets. His eyes, when they met Mason's, held the universe, mischief, terror, triumph. "Ready to jump, cowboy? With you? Always." They clasped hands, Reverend Lou's words washing over them like the stream gurgling outside. Promises of fidelity, forsaking all others, in sickness and in the stock dips. Rings exchanged, a kiss that bent time, sealing them not just as husbands but as co-conspirators in a world that still wagered against them. They honeymooned in a cabin on the Appalachian Trail, days blurring into hikes through fog-shrouded ridges, nights into fireside fucks that left them marked and mended. Carter sketched the wild, deer frozen in dawn light, Mason's profile against campfire glow. "This is us," he'd say, charcoal smudging his thighs. Untamed, back in the village, reality reasserted with the subtlety of a sledgehammer. Hilteca's Q4 loomed, projections tight after the proxy dust-up. Mason dove in, 12-hour days architecting AI ethics frameworks, his pet project, a nod to the humanistic core Carter had awakened. But the boardroom remained a viper pit. Trent, sidelined but snarling, leaked to Bloomberg. Hale's honeymoon hangover? Carter, meanwhile, dove into the mural commission, transforming Hilteca's lobby into a living narrative. Walls alive with circuits morphing into human forms, queer icons intertwined with code, lovers bridging binary divides. Critics raved in art forum, Ellis Hale's opus, tech meets tenderness, but whispers followed. Nepotism or genuine genius? One evening, paint-flecked and exhausted, Carter collapsed onto the couch, head in Mason's lap. Heard from your mom today. Congrats on the union. Said she'd pray for fertility. Mason snorted, fingers carding through auburn strands. Subtle as a subpoena. Yours. Carter's jaw tightened. Radio silence. Pops thinks it's a phase. Mom sent a Hallmark card, blank inside. He rolled to face Mason, vulnerability cracking his armor. Ever wonder if we're crazy? Building this on sand. Mason's hand stilled. Every day. But sand castles last longer in the tide. Their lovemaking that night was tender, exploratory, fingers mapping new territories of trust. Bodies syncing like algorithms finding harmony. Afterward, spooned under down, Mason whispered plans. Adopting a rescue dog, maybe kids via surrogate down the line. A family. Ours. Carter hummed assent, but sleep evaded him, mind churning on a secret of his own. It surfaced 2 weeks later, over breakfast burritos on the fire escape. Carter slid a manila envelope across the rickety table, coffee steaming between them. Got an offer. Solo show in LA. Mocha. 2 months. All expenses. Mason's fork paused midair, yolk dripping like unspoken fears. LA? As in? Leave. Temporary. Carter's eyes pleaded understanding. It's huge, Mace. Validation after years of scraping. But if it's too. No. Mason forced a smile, heart twisting. It's amazing. You deserve it. Inside, panic clawed. The distance. The temptations of Hollywood's glitter. The void without Carter's laugh echoing off brick. Carter left a month later, LAX bound on a red-eye, Mason driving him to JFK in silence broken only by radio static and half-hearted jokes. At security, their goodbye kiss was a bruise. Deep, desperate. Call every night, Mason growled. Text every hour. Carter winked, backpack slung, vanishing into the scrum. The brownstone echoed without him. Mason buried in work, but focus frayed. Meetings where his mind wandered to sunsets over the Pacific. Nights where the bed yawned empty. Calls came sporadic. Carter's voice crackling with excitement over curators' lunches, gallery crawls, chance encounters with A-listers who adored his vulnerability. Then, the text shifted, miss you. LA's a machine eats souls. Followed by photos. Carter at a rooftop party. Arms slung around a chiseled sculptor named Javier, both flushed with rose and rainbows. Networking, the caption read. Mason stared, thumb hovering over reply. Doubt a serpent in Eden. Betrayal brewed slow. A week in, Victoria resurfaced, over martinis at the Oak Room, her consulting gig with a rival firm thinly veiled. He's playing you, Mason. Artists in LA, it's Sodom with sketchpads. Pull the plug on the murals, optics. He waved her off, but seeds planted. Nights, he scrolled Javier's Insta, bronzed skin, abs like etched marble, captions dripping muse and inspiration. Paranoia gnawed. Was Carter's every-hour text delayed by tangled sheets? The breaking point came mid-exhibit prep. Carter called at 2 a.m. Yes, T. Voice slurred. Club bass thumping. Babe, miss your voice. Javier's a dick. Tried hitting on me. Told him I'm taken. Relief flooded. Then suspicion. Good. Because you're mine. A pause. Too long. Yeah. Course. Click. Mason paced the loft. Ghosts of the steakhouse note whispering. By dawn, he'd booked a flight, unannounced, a surprise to reclaim what felt slipping. LAX heat slapped him like judgment, palm trees mocking with their sway. He Ubered to Carter's borrowed bungalow in Silver Lake, heart hammering. The door was unlocked, careless, or inviting. Inside, sketches littered the floor, wine bottles tipped like fallen soldiers. Voices drifted from the bedroom. Low murmurs, a laugh, Mason's laugh, echoed in Carter's cadence. He froze in the doorway. Carter, shirtless, perched on the bed's edge, Javier's hand on his knee, eyes locked in that electric gaze Mason knew too well. "Tell me I'm wrong," Javier was saying, voice velvet. "That spark between us at the after-party." Carter pulled back, but not fast enough. "Jav, stop. I'm married." The word jolted Mason forward. "Damn right." They whirled, shock, guilt, fury. Javier bolted, mumbling apologies, leaving Carter gaping. "Mace? What the?" Saw the photos. The texts. "Thought I'd surprise my husband." Mason's voice cracked, fists clenched. "Instead, I get this. It was nothing. He cornered me post-opening high. I shut it down." Carter advanced, hands out. "You flew out? For me." The fight erupted, accusations hurled like paint bombs. "Mason, you left that note once, now this? Testing me?" Carter, "You're smothering. LA's my dream. You show up like the boardroom cop." Words escalated to shoves, then sobs. Mason backed Carter against the wall, breaths mingling hot. "I can't lose you." Not to him. Not to distance. Carter's hands fisted his shirt. "Then don't. Trust me. Like I trusted you with Elena." The kiss was war. Teeth and tears, bodies slamming together in reclamation. They fucked against the wall, frantic, forgiving, Javier's ghost exorcised in gasps and grips. After, on sheets twisted like battle flags, Carter confessed, "The show's kicking my ass. Felt like running back, but didn't want to fail you." Mason held him, ring glinting in moonlight. "We're the show now. Let's rewrite the script." They flew home together, Javier a footnote, LA a lesson in latitude. Back in the brownstone, Carter burned the problematic sketches, starting fresh, a diptych of them, bridged across coasts, hands reaching. But scars lingered. Mason's paranoia manifested in overnights at the office, Carter's independence flaring in solo gallery hops. Cracks spiderwebbed, subtle but spreading. The climax brewed at Hailteka's annual gala. Black tie bash in the Mets Temple of Dender, Nile gods witnessing tech titans' toasts. Mason, in bespoke Tom Ford, Carter on his arm in velvet jacket tailored to sin. They entered like royalty. Elena cornered them by the obelisk. "You two clean up lethal." But word trents back. Whispers of a class action, claiming your personal life tanked pensions. Mason's jaw set. "Let him try." Carter squeezed his hand. "We've beaten worse." The night swirled. Champagne flutes clinking. Carter charming donors with tales of his murals. Mason fielding kudos on the ethics AI. But midway, a server approached, familiar nose ring, from the prime cut. He pressed a folded note into Mason's palm. "Read after dessert. For old times. A friend." Dessert came, chocolate ganache, decadent as deceit. Mason excused himself to the cloister garden, unfolding the paper under moonlight. Handwriting not Carter's, Victoria's precise script. He's lying. Check the LA receipts. Javier's hotel key in his wallet. Destroy this. For the firm. World tilted. Mason's vision tunneled, the Met's grandeur mocking. Back inside, he found Carter laughing with a curator, light catching his ring. "Babe, you okay?" The note burned in his pocket. "Need air." Outside, rain lashed the courtyard, November's revenge. Carter followed, umbrella forgotten. "Mason, talk." He whirled, note thrust forward. "This. From Victoria. Javier's key. In your wallet." Carter's face drained. "What? No." He patted his pocket, confusion morphing to horror. "Shit. The spare. For the bungalow." Javier crashed once. Couch. Swear. Must have slipped in. Mason's laugh was bitter. "Convenient. It's truth." Carter grabbed his arm. "You think I'd, after everything?" The argument exploded under the downpour, voices rising over thunder. Revelers gawked from arched windows. "You're paranoid. This marriage is a cage you built. And you're the bird who keeps pecking free." Mason roared, note sodden, ink bleeding. Carter's slap echoed, sharp as revelation. "I love you, idiot. But not this version, the one who sees enemies in shadows." He stormed off, into the night, leaving Mason soaked, shattered. The gala's lights blurred through tears, the Nile eternal witness to his unraveling. Hours later, alone in the brownstone, Mason poured scotch, note disintegrating in the sink. Victoria's betrayal, stoking flames for her comeback. But the real wound? Is doubt, a self-inflicted scar. Dawn broke gray. Mason texted, "I'm sorry. Come home. Let's fix this." No reply. Fear clawed. Had he pushed too far? The day dragged, board calls ignored, Elena's voicemails pleading "call me." By evening, desperation drove him to Carter's studio in the garden level. Door ajar, light spilling. Inside, canvases slashed, red gashes across their portraits, bridges burned. Carter sat amid ruins, head in hands. "I trashed it all. Can't paint through the pain." Mason knelt, gathering shards. "Then we'll start blank. Together." Carter looked up, eyes raw. "Why? I'm toxic." The note, the slap, "Because love isn't clean. It's this." Mason pulled him close, sobs mingling. "Messy. Human." They cried until spent, then made love on the floor. Slow, healing, strokes like brushes rebuilding. Words followed therapy, boundaries, trust rebuilt brick by brick. Victoria's reckoning came swift. Elena's counterdirt exposed her foray into corporate espionage. Resignation demanded. Trent slunk away, tail between legs. Months healed. Carter's next show, Bridges Mended, sold out, themes of fracture and forgiveness. Mason spoke at Pride panels, advocating for mental health in boardrooms. 1 year post-vote, over steak at the prime cut, no notes this time, they toasted. "To secrets surfaced," Carter said. "To us," Mason replied. Unhidden, the anniversary dinner stretched into the witching hour. The prime cut's last embers glowing as Mason and Carter lingered over cognac digestives. The waitstaff's discreet retreat a nod to their legend. Mason's hand rested on Carter's knee under the tablecloth, thumb circling a slow, possessive arc, a habit born of countless reconciliations, each touch a tether against the drift. The steakhouse, once a tomb of betrayal, had become their talisman, returned to monthly, plates lifted with ritual laughter, ensuring no shadows lurked beneath. "You're staring again." Carter teased, swirling his glass, amber liquid catching the candle flicker. His velvet blazer hung open, collarbone exposed where Mason's teeth had left faint marks that morning. A private map of devotion. Guilty, Mason leaned in, voice husky. Can't help it. You're my favorite view. Carter's laugh bubbled, rich as the Armagnac, but his eyes held a depth now. Forged in fire, the LA fracture, the gala storm, the quiet months of couples counseling where they dissected doubts like surgeons. Dr. Reyes, their therapist, a no-nonsense Latina with a laugh like church bells, had prescribed radical vulnerability, weekly check-ins, no topic off limits, where Mason admitted his abandonment scars from a father who bolted post-divorce, and Carter unpacked the poverty of his youth, art as armor against invisibility. It worked. Slowly. The brownstone hummed with new rhythms. Tuesday night pottery classes. Mason's lopsided mugs a running joke. Sunday farmers markets where they'd haggle over heirloom tomatoes, hands brushing like sparks. Carter's career ascended. Commissions from MoMA. A TED Talk on queer algorithms in art. While Mason's reforms at Hailtech rippled outward. Diversity quotas enforced. A queer employee network that ballooned to 200 strong. But peace, Mason knew, was a vigilant garden. Tonight, as they strolled arm in arm down rain-slicked 7th Avenue, the village's brownstones whispering welcomes, his phone vibrated, a text from Elena, congrats on the milestone. But heads up, Trent's suing. Defamation from the proxy dirt. Details attached. Fight, the buzz killed the afterglow. Mason pocketed the phone, but Carter caught the flinch. Bad news. Later, he hailed a cab, pulling Carter in after. The ride home was charged, kisses interrupted by stoplights, hands roaming under coats. By the door, urgency peaked, keys fumbled, bodies pressing urgent against panels. The threshold crossed in a tangle. Inside, they didn't make the bedroom. The foyer rug became their altar, clothes shed in a trail of velvet and wool. Mason pinned Carter to the wall, mouths devouring, hips grinding with a rhythm honed by habit and heat. Need you, Mason growled, lifting him effortlessly, legs rapping as they stumbled to the couch. Carter's nails dug crescents into shoulders, gasps punctuating please. Harder, yes love you. Climax crashed like waves on Montauk rocks, leaving them limp, sweat slicked, breaths sinking in the afterquiet. Carter nuzzled Mason's neck, murmuring, whatever it is, we handle. Team Hail Ellis. Mason stroked his back, tracing vertebrae like piano keys. Trent. Lawsuit. Old wounds reopening. Carter propped up, eyes flashing. That fossil? Let him. We've got receipts, your receipts. Elena's. Sleep came fitful, dreams haunted by courtroom gavels and notes unfurling like serpents. Morning brought strategy, coffee-fueled calls to lawyers, Elena storming over with war binders. He's bluffing, she declared, pacing the kitchen. Wants a settlement to fund his yacht dreams. Counter with exposure his affair payouts. The works. Carter, sketching idly at the island, chimed, or arted out. Mural of him as Icarus, wax wings melting over his ego. Laughter broke tension, but the suit dragged. Depositions in sterile conference rooms, tabloids feasting on tech titans' tussle. Love or libel? Mason testified with steel, facts over fury, while Carter attended sketches in hand, doodling caricatures that had the stenographer stifling grins. Mid-trial, a curveball, Trent's star witness, a former Hailtech intern, claimed Mason's lifestyle created a hostile environment, veiled homophobia wrapped in legalese. The courtroom tensed, judge's gavel hovering. Mason's lawyer objected, but damage seeped. That night, back in the brownstone, Carter found Mason in the studio, punching a heavy bag they'd installed post-LA, thuds echoing like heartbeats. "Hey, warrior." He wrapped arms around from behind, chin on shoulder. "He's lying. We know your heart." Mason sagged, gloves off, sweat dripping. "Feels like the world's vote again. Guilty till proven." Carter spun him, fierce. "Then prove it. With me." He dropped to knees, hands unlacing Mason's shorts, mouth following suit, hot, insistent, a worship that unraveled defenses. Mason's head thunked back against the bag, fingers threading hair, moans mingling with the rain-pattering windows. Release came shuddering, Carter rising to claim his own in a frenzy of equality. After, showered and sated, they plotted counter. The intern's own emails, unearthed, flirtatious overtures to Mason rebuffed politely. Leaked anonymously, Elena's doing. It flipped the narrative. Trent folded days later, settlement pennies, a public apology buried in fine print. Victory tasted bittersweet. At the dismissal hearing, Mason caught Trent's eye, defeat etched deep. No triumph, just pity. "Human," he muttered to Carter in the hall. "Even villains break." Carter squeezed his hand. "That's why we win. We bend, don't shatter." The lawsuit's echo faded into summer's blaze. They escaped to Fire Island Pines, a queer enclave of dunes and discos, where Mason shed suits for board shorts. Carter painted en plein air, bodies in motion, waves crashing eternal. One dusk, on the beach, fireflies dancing like code, Carter knelt. Reverse proposal. Therapy homework. Lead. Mason laughed, tears pricking. "Thought we did this already." Renewal. Ring slipped on a matching band, coordinates updated to the bridge. Vows whispered to the sea. Through lawsuits and longing, "I choose you." Back in the city, life layered richer. Carter mentored at-risk youth through a Hailtech-funded program, turning warehouses into ateliers where kids like young him found voice in color. Mason keynote at Davos. Authenticity as asset, his speech laced with Carter's metaphors. Love as the ultimate innovation. But conflict simmered domestic now, a surrogacy debate. Over Thanksgiving turkey, Elena and her wife, Priya, guests Carter broached, "Kids. Real talk. I want them." Mini MES causing chaos. Mason's fork stilled. Fatherhood terrified. Echoes of his own dad's absence. The board's old jabs at family men. "You sure?" is huge. Changes everything. Carter's eyes softened. "So are we." Debate stretched months. Agency visits. Profiles reviewed. The pick. A carrier named Sophia. Warm and wry. Carrying their embryo. A genetic mash of Mason's brains. Carter's fire. Ultrasounds became rituals. Hands on belly. Whispers to the bump. "Hey, kid. Dad's here." Pregnancy's glow lit Carter. But shadows crept. Hormones. Hauntings. One night, 3 a.m., he bolted up, gasping. "Dreamed you left. For the firm. The fight." Mason pulled him close. "Nightmare. I'm chained to you. Remember." Lovemaking followed gentle, reassurances in caresses, peaks in tandem size. Labor hit like lightning. February frost. Cab racing to Mount Sinai. Mason white-knuckled the rail. Carter's curses a litany through contractions. Push. Mason coached. Breathe. Love. You're a god. Elias Hale Ellis arrived screaming. 7 pounds of fury and pink. Fist raised like a protest sign. In the recovery room, Carter cradled him, tears streaming. Look what we made. Mason kissed his brow, then the baby's downy head. A family. Fatherhood rewired them. Sleepless symphonies. Elias's coos over Carter's lullabies. Mason's board calls muted for spit-up emergencies. Joy. Yes, but friction. Carter's stalled canvases. Mason's travel for conferences clashing with teething nights. The betrayal brewed subtle. A gallery scout. Post-Elias. Offering Carter a residency in Berlin 6 months. Prestige pinnacle. For us, he argued over midnight bottles. Legacy for the kid. Mason's gut twisted. After LA? Now. Hurt flared. Not running. Building. Fight simmered cold. Carter accepted. Flight booked. Departure eve. Elias fussed in crib. They fought hushed. Selfish. Supportive. Carter left at dawn. Kiss to baby. Squeeze to Mason. Back before you miss me. Distance amplified cracks. Berlin dispatches. Photos of Carter in ateliers. Elias's drawings mailed home. But nights. Mason alone with colicky cries. Doubt festered, old notes whispering destroy. A month in. Elena dropped bomb. Anonymous tip to Vanity Fair. Carter spotted with a German curator. Intimate dinner. Probably nothing, she hedged. But. Check. Mason confronted via video. Carter's face pixelated. Denial swift. Work. Jealous much. Trust fractured. Like LA. Carter logged off. Silence swallowed. Climax crested Berlin visit. Mason, Elias in tow, stormed the residency. A sleek loft overlooking the spree. Carter opened door. Shock melting to embrace. You came, but inside, evidence. A sketchbook, margins filled with a stranger's name, Lucas, doodles intimate. Inspiration, Carter pleaded. Mason's voice broke. Lies again. The blow-up echoed. Elias wailing from the hall monitor. Accusations flying. I gave everything, ring, kid, soul, and you chase muses? Carter's tears. You're suffocating me. Art's my air. You clip wings. Carter chose stay, residency cut short. Homecoming was ice. Separate rooms. Therapy strained. Elias toddled between. Oblivious bridge. Rock bottom. Anniversary 2. The prime cut empty. Mason alone. Steak cold. Lifting plate nothing. But phone lit. Carter's text. Photo of Elias painting. Caption, our mess. Fix. Mason raced home. Carter waited. Canvas unveiled. Them fractured. Pieced with gold kintsugi. Broken beautiful. They collapsed weeping. Forgiveness in folds. Lovemaking reborn. Slow. Sacred. Elias asleep upstairs. Renewal rooted deep. Berlin a scar. Stronger. Carter's next show. Mended messes. Family portraits. Raw and radiant. Years folded. Elias 5. Querying rainbows. A daughter via Sophia again. Lila. Fierce as her brother. Hail Tech under Mason. Carbon neutral. Queer-led initiatives global. One night. Fire escape perch. Kids Abed. Carter sketched stars. Our story. Mason kissed his temple. Epic. Human. Elias's 5th birthday dawned sticky sweet. July sun gilding the brownstone stoop where balloons bobbed like defiant dreams against the humidity. Mason woke to chaos. Carter in the kitchen, apron smeared with batter. Lila on his hip gurgling demands for more powder, while Elias orchestrated a Lego empire on the floor, tyrannical as any toddler Caesar. Dad, the dragon needs wings. Make him fireproof. Mason scooped him up, ruffling chestnut curls, a perfect blend of their shades. On it, Chief. But first, fuel. He planted a kiss on Carter's flour-dusted cheek, dodging a swat from the whisk. 7 years married, and mornings still sparked. Coffee shared black, toes tangling under the table. Elias's chatter a bridge over silences once fraught. The party was village perfect. Backyard bash with rainbow cakes from the queer bakery on Bleecker. Neighbors in drag spilling sangria. Elena's wife Priya leading Pin the Tail on the Donkey, rebranded Pin the Flame on the Phoenix. Carter, in linen shirt rolled to elbows, painted faces, Elias a blue dragon, Lila a glittering unicorn, his laugh free, unburdened by old ghosts. As dusk dipped, kids sacked out on quilts. Adults lingered fireside. Mason pulled Carter aside, to the garden wall overgrown with jasmine. Proud of you. It's magic. Carter's hazel softened, hand slipping into his. Our alchemy. Gold from grit. Bed that night, kids' monitors humming static. They celebrated privately, bodies familiar yet electric. Touches mapping milestones, stretch marks from pregnancies, laugh lines from boardroom wins. Carter arched under Mason, whispering, still my adventure. Whispers of conflict had quieted to echoes. Therapy a quarterly tune-up, Berlin a tale for therapy memoirs. Carter's art flourished, a Guggenheim retrospective looming, while Mason's legacy at Hailtech, sold to a benevolent co-op, profits funding global queer tech hubs. Retirement whispers tempted, a sabbatical in Tuscany, easels and vineyards. But life, humanistic to its core, dull drama in doses. Fall brought Elena's call, Trent's dead. Heart attack. Left a letter. For you. Mason's stomach nodded. The man who'd haunted their honeymoon. Their headlines gone. The letter arrived courier. Yellowed envelope. Trent's scrawl. Hail you won. Hated you for it. But watching from sidelines. Envy. Not anger. Wish I'd lived raw like you. No regrets except mine. Burn this. Carter found him in the study. Letter ash in tray. Villain's redemption? Mason nodded. Throat tight. Human. Flawed end. They mourned not Trent, but the what-ifs, a world where bridges built, not burned. Over mulled wine, they vowed vigilance against complacency, against forgetting. Winter's cusp. Lila's 2nd birthday brought surprise. Sophia, their carrier, visiting with her partner, announcing twins on the way, not theirs, but a circle closing. You two inspired, she said, hugging Carter. Queer family mosaic. Joy swelled, but undercurrent tugged. Elias's school play, a dinosaur epic, where he'd ad-libbied a two-dad T-Rex line. Drawing giggles, then guidance counselor's note. Normalize. Mason fumed at pickup. Carter calming. Teachable. Our moment. PDA meeting turned tense. A parent. Veiled bigot. Hissing agendas. Mason's retort calm fire. Love's no agenda. It's alphabet. ABCs for all. Carter backed. Fierce. My husband's story? Epic. Yours? Catch up. Applause rippled. The bigot slunk. Home. High fives. Then heat. Kitchen counter quickie. Lila napping. Elias at playdate. My hero, Carter gasped. Legs hooked. Yours, Mason affirmed. Spring bloomed betrayal small. A gallery rival swiping Carter's concept. Splashed in art news as original. Fury flared. Carter's sleepless rages. Mason's calls to lawyers. Resolution. Countershow. Echoes echoed reclaimed narratives. Sold out. Vindication sweet. Summer solstice. They renewed vows on the bridge. Elias ringbearer. Lila flower girl. Elena officiant in jest. By the power vested in me by bad ideas. Laughter sealed. Rings refreshed. After party. Rooftop bash. Village lights twinkling. Midnight. Kids down. Mason pulled Carter to the ledge. 10 years next. Can you believe? Carter's head on shoulder. Every ache. Worth it. Their kiss spanned skyline. A vow visual. A decade on. Elias teen tall. Questioning crushes. Lila a whirlwind artist. Smocks permanent. Empty nest loomed. But they leaned in travels to Kyoto temples. Where Carter sketched Zen gardens. Mason coded apps for displaced queers. One eve. Prime cut redux, no occasion. Just them. Steak ordered. Plate lifted. A note. Their handwriting joint. To infinities. Love. Always. Mason grinned. Our turn. Carter toasted. To secrets shared. Stories sown. Outside. Manhattan murmured. Inside. Their world. Dramatic. Emotional. Romantic, profoundly human. Unbreakable.